This conference will now be recorded.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order of the MPO Policy Board for the Area Plan Commission of Tippecanoe County. And the first item, we'll conduct a roll call vote to document the attendance in our quorum. And I hear some background noise from somewhere who doesn't have their mic muted. You might double check that. Mayor Easter is not with us today. So Jody Hamilton.
Here.
David Byers. Well, it shows that he's supposed to be here. It says yes. Maybe he'll get here later. Steve Snyder.
Yes, present.
Larry Leverance.
Present.
Cindy Murray.
Here.
And Deb Calder.
Here.
Thank you, everyone. All right, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Those have been communicated to you in your packet, and I would entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Mike, I apologize. I think I forgot to call your name on the roll call.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or discussions? Hearing none, we'll conduct a roll call vote on the approval. Jody Hamilton.
Yes.
Dave Byers, are you with us now?
I hope so. So yes.
Okay, thank you. Steve Snyder.
Yes.
Larry Leverance.
Yes.
Cindy Murray.
Yes.
Mike Gibson.
Yes.
And Deb Calder.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. The minutes are approved. The next item on the agenda is the interlocal agreement reference traffic counting supplies, and Tim will handle that one.
Yes, thank you. So this is something that we do periodically that we haven't necessarily done for a few years. So I wanted to kind of go over it and just explain what we're doing. So one of the key data items that we collect as an MPO is traffic count data. And in order to do that, we rely on a partnership with all of our local jurisdictions. So they actually will get out and have people go and set up these traffic counters out at various locations throughout the county. And then they will give that data that they collect back to us, and we kind of store it and archive it and so on. Well, obviously with those counters, they're going to wear out over time. We're going to need to replace them. We're going to need some supplies to set them up. The type of counters that we use require some pneumatic tubes that are stretched across the road, so those need to be replaced. So in order to kind of partner with you guys on that, what we do is we front 80% of the cost of the counters, and then the local jurisdictions pay for 20% of the cost of the counters. And so that's what this agreement goes through. So earlier this summer, we reached out to all the local government engineers, asking them what their supply inventories were like and what they needed. And so they gave us some information about how many counters, how much of the tubing, et cetera, that they needed. And so we were able to order that, and we did receive that. But in order to give it to you, we do need to have people sign off on the agreement for paying for the 20% of it, because we are only allowed to pay for 80% of it with federal funds. Like, we can't pay for more than that, even if we wanted to, because of the rules. So that's why this interlocal agreement is pretty important. So we have several people that we need to sign off on this ultimately. So of course, our office, and then both mayors, the president of the county commissioners, and then the president of the county council. So this is something that, like I said, we haven't done for a while. So I know some of you may not have been in the positions you were when we did this last. So I wanted to make sure that I answered any questions you had about this. So I'll open it up to that first of all.
I got a quick question, if you don't mind. What is the total dollar amount? Do we have that established? I mean, I know it doesn't matter at this point, but just what are we looking at dollar wise?
Yes. So for everyone, the total I think was around 26,000. I believe the number should be I think it was in last month's packet. So we did go over, we did go over this last month. Yeah, I don't think we got it in this month's, but yeah, it's around that.
All right, any other questions for Tim? All right, Tim, is there anything else on that you need to cover?
Yes. So what we will need to do to formalize this is we will need to have the board pass a motion to authorize all the listed people to sign this. And then if that motion passes, then I will take care of making sure it gets, between each jurisdiction for everyone to sign.
Okay, thank you. Most of us are very familiar with this. Do I have a motion to approve moving forward with this interlocal agreement for the traffic counting supplies?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Okay, Steve and Cindy, I got a motion and a second. Thank you very much. We will conduct a roll call vote. Jody Hamilton,
Yes.
David Byers,
Aye.
Keith Snyder,
Aye.
Larry Leverance,
Aye.
Cindy Murray,
Aye.
Mike Gibson,
Aye.
and Deb Calder. All right, thank you, everyone. It is approved. We appreciate that. The next item on the agenda. Oh, thank you, Tim. The next item on the agenda is resolution
Sorry,
T20.
one more thing, Mayor. One more thing.
Okay.
So after this, we will then have to do an amendment for our UPWP to kind of, again, document all this. So then that'll be coming to you guys probably next month. So just a heads up.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that information. The next item on the agenda is resolution T25-07, a resolution to amend the 2024-2028 and 2026-2030 tips. And it looks like Doug's going to be handling that one.
Good afternoon, everyone. We have two amendments to bring before the policy board. This first one is good news. This is in regards to City Bus. They were able to secure over $400,000 in special Federal Transit Administration funds, and specifically it's what they call Section 5339 funds. And these funds are specifically designed for purchasing of replacement buses and for improvements to facilities. The Indiana Department of Transportation reviewed the requests here recently of those transit systems around the state, and as I mentioned, awarded City Bus $427,719 funds, $19 worth of Section 5339 funds, with a combined local match, which is 20% of a little over 100,000. The total cost for this project is just over $500,000. These funds will be used to replace a 2011 bus. Because we are in this unique time where the new tip has not yet been approved by NDOT and the Federal Highway Administration and Federal Transit Administration, we are still using the existing 2024 to 2028 tip. So We are amending both documents at this time so that when we do move forward with the new document, it will already be in there. The Technical Transportation Committee did review this request at their meeting last month and recommended approval, and APC staff is also recommending approval of this. Are there any comments or questions?
All right, hearing none, thank you, Doug. We will conduct a roll call vote on this resolution. Jody Hamilton,
Aye.
David Byers,
Aye.
Steve Snyder,
Aye.
Larry Leverance,
Aye.
Cindy Murray,
Aye.
Mike Gibson,
Aye.
and Deb Calder. All right, thank you, everyone. The resolution is approved. The next item on the agenda is Resolution T2508, resolution to amend the 2024-2028 and the 2026 to 2030 TIP. And Doug, you'll be handling that one also.
Unlike the previous TIP amendment, unfortunately, this is some disappointing news. And recently, NDOT provided us with updated federal funding amounts for state year fiscal 2026. And we are actually going to receive less money, approximately $230,000. And this is due to two different things. The first is that they overestimated the amount when we were putting the new TIP together. And that the second part of this is that there were other state DOTs that did not use all of the allocated transportation, infrastructure, finance, and innovative act funds or TIFA funds. So the Federal Highway Administration pulled those back and redistributed those. They actually gave some to NDOT and they're passing along to us. So, but unfortunately, the estimate that they gave us was quite different than what we received. And in the short, we are receiving less funding for fiscal year 2026. So what does this mean? There are three projects that are allocated these federal funds. One is the City of Lafayette, the South 9th Street project. The second is the first part of the emergency preemption traffic signal project. And the third is the Soldiers Home Road project, the first phase. In initial discussions in terms of how do we address this, it was decided that the emergency vehicle preemption project, since this is safety related, we did not make any changes to that, and it will still receive the allocation that was given to it earlier this year. And the two big projects that will take the hit are South 9th Street and Soldiers Home Road. And what we did was we took the percentage. Of course, the South 9th Street project is requesting more than the Soldiers Home Road, so we took a percentage. And with this, the change, the South 9th Street project will be receiving a pinch over 200,000 less, and the Soldiers Home Road project will be reduced federal funding wise by a little over $28,000. So since we're already in fiscal year 2026, we are amending both TIPs. At this point, we do not know when the new TIP will be approved, but we wanted to make sure that when we actually obligate these funds that the current 24 TIP is still good and matches the information. So that's why we're requesting the amendment to both. So unfortunately, disappointingly, the two projects will be receiving a small pinch of funding. We receive less funding. So we're asking for your approval. That was presented to the transportation or the Technical Transportation Committee meeting last month, and they recommended approval, and we are asking for your approval. Any comments or questions?
All right, hearing none. Thank you, Doug, for the explanation. Even though it's not good news, we appreciate the explanation. I will entertain a motion to approve Resolution T2508.
So moved.
Do I
Second.
have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Thank you. We will conduct a roll call vote. Jody Hamilton,
Aye.
David Byers,
Aye.
Steve Snyder,
Aye.
Larry Leverance,
Aye.
Cindy Murray,
Aye.
Mike Gibson,
Aye.
and Deb Calder.
Aye.
The resolution is approved. Thank you, everyone. The next item on the agenda is the APC progress report, and we have several sections of that. The first one, the MPO update, and the first piece of that is the fatal crash summary, and Aria is going to be handling that, it says.
All right, thank you, Mayor. So this is a report you put together every range of years. It had been 10 years since we'd done the last one. So this is a valuable report to see kind of a 10-year summary of crashes. Ordinarily, we don't do that long of a summary in our crash reports. So our intern this year, Bennett, put this together. So thank you, Bennett. And I guess I'll just go through it, hopefully not too slowly. You can find the first table. Here we go. So crashes by year. You can see the increase in recent years compared to historically. We've had, unfortunately, higher crash numbers post-COVID again. In terms of months, the fatal crashes, this is a report only on fatal crashes. The trend is different to injury crashes in terms of months. Injury crashes are highest in October, but fatal crashes are high in both May and October. I haven't yet found a correlation for that reasoning, but could be school year related. I don't know. Day of the week, also different to injury crashes. Injury crashes are most common on Thursdays and Fridays, especially Fridays, but fatality crashes are highest on Saturdays. Next page, please. This is one of the most interesting pieces of data in this report, I think. So you can look at our data, the Tippecanoe County data on the top there, and the state data on the bottom, and you can see that statewide, fatality crashes are highest at the AM and PM traffic peaks, 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. But locally, our peaks are different. We're more at this kind of 2 p.m., 2 a.m., kind of 10 p.m. or 12 p.m. there. So very different trends locally versus statewide. And I suspect that might be due to shift changes for 3-shift work, but I haven't yet gone too deep into finding out the exact hours that all of our shift workers work here in town. So to be determined, I will find out more on that. Manner of collision, they're kind of what you expect. Dangerous types of collisions have more severe outcomes. And you can see the national averages there as well. Primary factor, again, kind of what you expect. I should note that disregard signal and regulatory sign and failure to yield right-of-way might be the same thing. There's not a lot of guidance for officers on how to report these. So failure to yield and disregard signal could both be getting T-boned in an intersection. So you could mentally maybe add those numbers and see that that's a very dangerous type of crash, aside from running off the road. Weather condition. So in Tippecanoe County, we have about 30% of the days have a weather event. So that's rain, snow, hail. And the percentages here you can see, it's kind of hard for me to see here, but it's about the same. So weather generally doesn't seem to be a determining factor for fatality crashes. In terms of light condition, however, in terms of the absolute light here in the county. We do have light just about 50% of the year, throughout the winter and summer altogether. However, traffic volumes are much heavily skewed towards daylight hours. So the fact that there are almost half of crashes in low light conditions means that we're having more fatality crashes when it's dark. So lighting could be improved to hopefully reduce fatality crashes. Surface condition is a little bit maybe unexpected. So again, about 30% of days have weather events. I don't remember offhand how often we have rain specifically or wet roads specifically, but dry road crashes are maybe a little bit more common for fatality crashes than you might expect. By township, that's pretty well correlated with population and traffic volumes. So lots of numbers in Fairfield, so Lafayette. Roadway junctions, roadway class. No comment on those, I guess. Nothing to mention specifically for this committee, I think, unless you had any questions about those. And urban versus rural. Fatality crashes, I should just mention, are kind of random in a sense where there's typically not patterns. With this 10-year review, we do get to see some patterns like those hourly patterns. But in terms of location, specific intersections or types of places, it's still tricky to draw really strong statistical conclusions just because there's so few, even with 10 years of data, which is good, but also hard to analyze. So that's the fatality crash summary. I believe next month we should have our full 2023, I want to say, annual crash report for you. And that goes into all crashes, injury crashes, and fatality crashes. So that's that. Any questions?
All right, thank you. Is this up on the website?
It is,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, because it's a little hard to read here trying to share the screens, but it is up on the website now.
Yep, that's right. I'll get a link for you here.
All right, well, thank you for the information. Are there any follow-up questions? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the federal funding status report, and Doug will be handling that. You're muted, Doug.
My apologies. Thank you for pointing that out. As you're aware, we usually provide this information, especially early in the year, to keep track of our federal funds and especially obligating them. Since we are in the new year, we would like to just share this information and where the funds are allocated to. Of course, we will be presenting this monthly, but since we're in the new year, no funds actually have been obligated yet. But as you can see, we have the distribution between the individual funds and the individual projects. So just kind of an FYI that we are actually starting to keep track of that. Would you like me to go on to the 18-month letting list?
Is there anybody have any quick questions on Doug's short presentation there on that? Okay, seeing none. Yep, go ahead and go to the 18-month letting list.
Looking at the list, you would see that there is just one new project, and we're excited that this actually is back on the list. Of course, this is on the State Road 225 our state route, and this is the Truss Reconstruction and Repair Project. It is now scheduled for a January 2026 bid letting. So my fingers and toes are crossed. So hopefully they will get some favorable bids with this. Stepping back, project number one, this was on the July bid letting, and that was actually yesterday. I looked at the NDOT website, and there were 4 bids submitted for this project. Unfortunately, they were all above the engineer's estimate. The low bid was from an Illinois company, and it was a little over $500,000. So we will keep an eye to see when that will reappear back on our 18-month letting list. As you see, projects 2, 3, 4, and 5 are basically the next ones coming up, and they are a pinch off, and they are all related to I-65. Looking down at projects 8, 9, and 10, these are all on 9th Street. And then another project I'd like to point out, project 12. This is the first of the emergency vehicle preemption projects. With our kickoff meeting that we actually held earlier this week, while it shows it on a January 2026 bid letting, it appears that this project will actually be on the April of 2026 bid letting. So basically, that is a summary of all of the projects that are on NDOT's bid letting. Any comments or questions?
Anybody have any questions? Deb, did you want to add anything? I'd give you an opportunity if you had something.
I do not have anything additional to add. Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you. All right. Anybody else got any questions for Doug? All right. Any items under other business? Anything else to come before the board today? All right. Hearing none, we will go into the citizen comment phase.
Okay, we do have the timer started, Mayor. There's no comments at this time.
Okay, it's been about 1 minute and there are no public comments on Facebook or YouTube at this time.
All right. Thank you for that. Hearing that there are no citizen comments or any other business, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Second. All right. Thank you, David. Thank you, Mike. We'll conduct a roll call vote for adjournment. Jody Hamilton,
Aye.
David Byers,
Aye.
Steve Snyder,
Aye.
Larry Leverance,
Aye.
Cindy Murray,
Aye.
Mike Gibson,
Aye.
and Deb Calder. All right. Thank you, everyone. We're adjourned. Enjoy the rest of your day.